The social media trap. For Gen Z, growing up with the phone in hand changes everything. Older generations could leave school drama at the door. But today, one embarrassing moment can be filmed, posted, and replayed thousands of times before you even get home. Apps like Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat promise connection, yet they turn life into a constant competition. Everyone shows their best angles. Perfect skin, dream vacations, gym-sculpted bodies, good grades, ideal friendships. When that's what you scroll through every day, it's hard not to feel like you're falling behind. With your phone always within reach, there's no real break. And this non-stop comparison takes a toll, fueling anxiety, low self-esteem, and the feeling that your life isn't enough. The money wall. For many Gen Z, the future feels less like a path forward and more like a bill they can't pay. College prices keep climbing, rent in most cities devours half a paycheck, and even grabbing fast food feels like a luxury now. You walk into McDonald's for something cheap and leave wondering if you should have bought precious metals instead. And that's before you factor in the cost of a car, medical coverage, or the idea of owning a home, which for a lot of young people feels as realistic as a relic in a museum. Older generations love to say, "Just work hard," as if that magically solves everything. But the numbers don't line up anymore. A part-time mall job once covered rent in the 80s. Today, you'd need multiple jobs just to stay afloat, and even then the bills barely get paid. If you're Gen Z, you've seen this firsthand. You've watched parents and older siblings drown in student loans and credit card balances, and the fear of ending up in the same cycle is very real. The dating freeze. Dating used to start early. Your parents probably have stories about high school crushes and college sweethearts. But for Gen Z, things are different. Fewer teens date at all, and many reach adulthood with little relationship experience. Money and limited social spaces play a big role. Hanging out costs more, coffee dates feel pricey, and lingering in public places isn't always welcomed. Add school, jobs, and side hustles, and most people barely have the energy to think about dating. After a long day, the only thing you want is sleep. Most dating now happens online, but apps like Tinder and Hinge bring their own problems. Swiping means instant judgment, ghosting is constant, and rejection can pile up fast. It often feels less like romance and more like applying for a role you're not sure you want. Because of this, many Gen Z feel unprepared for adult relationships. Some avoid dating, others feel anxious about intimacy. And for a generation already dealing with loneliness, the fact that even dating feels out of reach makes the mental health picture even tougher. The ChatGPT shortcut. Gen Z has always lived online, but AI has made things even easier and a bit riskier. Tools like ChatGPT were designed to support learning, yet many young people now treat them as a quick fix. Essays, math problems, text replies, even creative assignments can be produced in seconds with the right prompt. At first, it feels amazing. Homework takes half the effort, deadlines feel less stressful, and you avoid the frustration of starting from scratch. But there's a hidden cost. When AI does most of the thinking, you stop practicing the skills yourself. Teachers are already noticing that students who rely heavily on AI struggle when they're asked to write, solve problems, or think critically without help. Some Gen Z students even brag about using AI to finish entire college papers. But shortcuts only work in school for so long. When it comes to exams, job interviews, or real-life situations where the bot can't step in, those missing skills become obvious. The same technology that feels like a safety net can quietly weaken your ability to stand on your own. School shootings and safety anxiety. For many Gen Z students, school has never felt completely safe. Along with tests, homework, and social stress, they also grew up practicing active shooter drills. Kids learn where to hide, how to block doors, and what to do if someone with a gun enters the building. Some even joke that they've mastered hide and seek on hard mode more than algebra. But the truth behind that joke is unsettling. Instead of the usual fire or weather drills, students practiced staying silent in corners and pushing desks against doors. And drills like that send a message. The threat isn't random. It's people. That kind of preparation leaves a lingering fear, one that doesn't disappear just because the day ends without incident. The headlines make it heavier. News about school shootings appears so often it starts to blend together, but each story still hits young people personally. Many imagine themselves in those scenarios. Others don't have to imagine it at all. They've lived through lockdowns at their own school or one close by. Sleep crisis. Getting enough sleep has become more of a luxury than a daily routine. Teens are supposed to get around 8 hours a night, but surveys show many barely hit 5 or 6. At this point, a full night's rest feels as rare as spotting an empty charging port at an airport. There's no shortage of reasons. Phones keep buzzing late into the night with group chats, TikToks, and endless scrolling. Games don't pause at bedtime either. When your friends are online at 1 a.m., logging off feels like you're missing out. And even after the phone is finally set aside, the stress sticks around. Homework pressures, money worries, or just the urge to check one more thing keep minds wired long after the lights are off. Plenty of people say they can't fall asleep without a video playing, which only means the blue light keeps their brains half awake. Missing sleep isn't just about fighting yawns in class the next morning. Over time, it affects mood, concentration, and even physical health. Anxiety spikes, small issues feel overwhelming, and the body never gets a real chance to recharge. Doctors call it a mental health concern. Gen Z calls it everyday life. The side hustle grind. For many Gen Z workers, one job isn't enough anymore. Lots of people juggle multiple side gigs just to keep up. One day you're delivering food, the next you're selling clothes online, and by the weekend you're freelancing for someone in another country. Hustle culture makes it seem exciting, like you're building a business at a young age, but most of the time it just feels exhausting. Sleep, health, and social life are usually the first things to disappear. Older generations talk about staying in one company and moving up. Gen Z talks about whether to take another Uber shift or try selling handmade jewelry online. It's constant work, but without the security that full-time jobs used to offer. No benefits, no health insurance, no retirement, and no stable schedule. And it's not only about money. Hustle culture makes people feel guilty for relaxing. Free time starts to feel like time wasted. Hobbies get turned into side businesses, streaming becomes a job, and every skill has to make money. In the end, chasing your dreams can start to feel less like freedom and more like endless work dressed up as ambition. The housing shuffle. For many Gen Z adults, even with a job, living alone feels impossible. Instead, life becomes a constant rotation, moving between roommates, parents' homes, or tiny apartments where the rent goes up like a boss level in a video game. Just when you finally settle in, the landlord raises the price, and suddenly you're looking for a new place, or a new couch to crash on. Privacy is rare. Your bedroom often becomes your office, and sometimes the kitchen is the only quiet spot to take a call. Moving stops feeling exciting and starts feeling routine. People don't even unpack all their boxes anymore because they know they'll probably move again soon. Buying a home feels even more out of reach. While older generations bought houses in their 20s, Gen Z scrolls through Zillow like it's showing fantasy homes they'll never afford. Prices are too high, interest rates are tough, and renting a simple one-bedroom can take half your paycheck before you even buy groceries. All of this makes home feel temporary, like you're just passing through your own life. People joke about it online, but the truth is harder. It's tough to feel stable when your living situation changes as often as your phone plan. The attention economy. Every app is fighting to grab your attention. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Discord games. They all want to be the first thing you check in the morning. Notifications don't just show up. They stack up like junk mail. Even schoolwork has to compete with buzzing group chats, each one acting like it's the most important thing. All of this creates constant overload. You sit down to study, and suddenly 30 minutes are gone because you watched just one more video. The phone doesn't stay hidden. It sits right in front of you, almost like a second teacher, but one that's louder and way more entertaining. No wonder it's harder to focus. Your brain starts to feel like a browser with too many tabs open, Some freezing, some lagging, and one randomly playing music you can't find. When everything wants your attention at the same time, even simple tasks feel like juggling. For Gen Z, distraction isn't an accident. Apps are designed to keep you hooked and make logging off feel like you'll miss something. Rest gets interrupted by streaks, alerts, and constant updates. After a while, it feels like you're not just using the apps are using you. Digital footprint. Older generations could make mistakes and move on. If you embarrassed yourself at school or said something dumb, people forgot pretty quickly. But for Gen Z, mistakes don't disappear. They get saved, shared, and stored online forever. Growing up on the internet means all your old posts, cringy photos, and weird usernames from middle school are still out there. Something you joked about in 7th grade can show up again years later. When you're applying for jobs or trying to seem professional, it's like dragging around an old time capsule you never meant to create. Even small moments can follow you. A bad tweet, a silly TikTok you made at 2 a.m., or a photo a friend tagged you in might be the first thing someone sees when they search your name. Before, only schools kept permanent records. Now the whole internet does. For Gen Z, the pressure never really goes away. Every post, comment, and picture might be judged in the future. The internet doesn't forget, and it doesn't always forgive. It makes growing up feel less like learning from mistakes and more like being watched all the time.